Let's immediately delve into matters of public service vehicles, the Matatu sector. And joining us to do so is Patrick Igunza. He's live from the Nairobi Central Business District. Igunza, tell us a little bit about where you are and the activity there at the moment in terms of public service vehicles.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Waiga. Quite a chilly morning here in the CBD. I am coming to you live from Railways bus station. As you can see on my left-hand side, it is one of the most popular bus termini here in the CBD. Not as chaotic as one would expect this morning, but then again, no doubt quite a number of PSV vehicles already making their way into and out of the CBD. Operators ready to do what they do best, and that's bringing people in and out of the city. As you would expect, Wahiga, we do have quite a number of designated termini here in the city where these Matatu operators are expected to pick and to drop passengers. But over the last couple of years, we've seen the city turning quite chaotic. The reason being the operators have decided just to run the show. They pick passengers from wherever they feel like and drop them whenever is convenience with them. For instance, let's have a look at the Railways bus station. That's the exit on my, that's the entry rather, on my left hand side. On the other side we do have the exit. We expect the passengers, Wahige, are supposed to be dropped and picked from within the designated areas, which is about 200 or 300 meters from where I am. But as you can see, these are Matatus coming into the Railways bus terminal. Not far away, you will see them dropping passengers on this left-hand side, which is the entry point for Matatus that operate within Railways. On the other side, about 10-15 meters, you will see that's the exit, Wahiga. But then again, we also do have operators picking and dropping passengers from that particular place. To try and bring order, we do have police officers. These are traffic police officers who are normally here from very early in the morning. Right behind me, we can see quite a number of them, and it is not an easy job for them. As you can see, they have to engage the operators every so often so that they can try and sanitize this particular PSV sector. And the question is, Wahige, what happened to self-regulation? Because the reason as to why we had the introduction of Matatu circles a few years ago during the reign of the late Michuki, it was so that these Matatu operators can self-regulate themselves, so that they can come up with internal regulations where they can ensure no one flaunts them, as well as no one actually goes against those that are deemed to be proper rules of the game. But it looks like we have long forgotten these self-regulations. But I'm happy that you have Mr. Kimutai and the rest of the stakeholders in studio. I think it will be important if you can try and get to understand from them. Is it a battle that they lost, or what are they exactly doing to ensure we don't have such kind of a mess? Look, that's a roundabout, but every so often you will find that Matatus will drop people from the roundabout and pick others. If you see at my extreme right, that's Kahawa House. Around Kahawa House, we have different buses, both doing long haul and short haul travels. They have literally taken over the bottom of that particular house. The infamous Easy Coach offices is also surrounded by various PSV operators from various, applying various routes within the CBD. What's happened? The situation is not different from any other termini that we do have. And so in not so long a time, I will be decamping from here and going to another station to find whether there is some sense of sanity, or again the situation is the same. Wahige.
Patrick Igunza, you're actually helping my interview right here. I thank you so much for that. Quick question to you. Before we came on air, I was having a chat with the panel here that I'll be introducing shortly. And one of them said, I wouldn't say who in case he says I've misquoted him, that the Matatu problem or the challenge on Kenyan roads is not a Matatu sector issue solely. It's a problem with all Kenyans. He says we have a behavioral issue, we have a cultural issue, and unless we fix that, we can't expect the few individuals within the Matatu sector to sort our roads. What's your take on that?
I actually could agree with him to a limited extent. The reason being that within the CBD, it's not only Matatus that are actually present. We do have personal vehicles. But then again, if all these motorists do not actually uphold traffic rules, what's expected of a movement of vehicles in and within and outside the city? So it is actually sensible that it should start with me as a motorist. Wahiga, you also drive, it should start with you. If we are able to actually uphold traffic rules from an individual point of view, then again, these other operators will have no choice but to follow. But when everyone wants to be the one on the right, then again, what do we expect if not a gridlocked city? And guess what that does to our economy?
Well, we kind of have an idea, Patrick Igunza. Thank you so much. You move from where you are. Take us to a different location. We're coming back to you to talk a bit later on as you show us fresh pictures from the Central Business District at this moment. Let me now introduce my guest in studio. They've heard what Patrick has to say and my intro, and they'll be able to immediately respond to that. The far right there, we have Simon Kimutai, Chairman, Matatu Owners Association. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Right next to him is Mohammed Ahmed Dagane, the CEC, Roads, Infrastructure and Transport, Nairobi County. Welcome as well.
Thank you so much.
And right here next to me, we have Dr. Duncan Kibogong, Deputy Director in charge of Safety Strategies and County Coordination, NTSA. Gentlemen, asante sana. Bwana Kimutai, let me start with you. I want to get a response. Patrick has raised a couple of questions. Has the fight to bring sanity back to the roads been lost? Was what really stood out for me, in his analysis. Let me get your response to that.
I don't think it's lost.
Have we started fighting? Or we are still trying to figure out?
I don't know whether to call it a fight, because when it's a fight, it's one side versus the other. It looks like both sides have gone to the same team. So it's made
Are you
everything.
talking politics now, or
No.
or road safety?
I'm talking about those who are supposed to enforce and those who are supposed to be enforced upon. That's where the beating has come in. So I think we need to put a line to differentiate the two, because it appears that there is a rapport between the two. And when there is a rapport, everything goes in a mess, because he's my friend, he's my buddy, we eat together, and there we are. I'll let him go free when he does mistakes. I think the rules are there. Everything is in place. We as investors in the public transport sector have said we have bought the vehicles, we cannot go and enforce on the road. Self-regulation comes in when you are fully given the powers to do the same. But when we do that at certain area of picking or certain area of position, certain position, when they're on the road, we expect those who are supposed to enforce the law to do the same. Then what happens? Everything goes well. But apparently, as it is said, all of us have missed it and we are doing it wrong. We need to correct it.
Okay, although we're here to talk about the Matatu sector, so I will not allow you to get away with saying all of us have missed it. What happened to self-regulation? Patrick Igunza actually posed that question.
Well, we have never had self-regulation.
There was a proposal.
There was a proposal, but we've not been given that mantle, that real power to self-regulate. We don't have the powers to do many things. When you self-regulate, for instance, I don't need any other person to come in between, because we tried and then we are punctured at certain point. Self-regulation is all about putting rules and regulations. They're in place. But what goes wrong at certain point? This is where we really need to find out. What goes wrong when, after we have put these people in class, we have given them all the regulations, do not misbehave. Then they misbehave. We expect that when they misbehave, there's a certain point where they'll be charged with an offense or for committing a traffic act, a traffic offense. But somehow that is the missing link, because a rapport starts from there. You know, public transport is all about trusting a person. You buy a unit, you give it to a driver. You expect at the end of the day to give you the revenues as collected. What he does in between and buying himself off with the revenues is collected for you is where the problem is.
Okay, I'll come back to you to pick up a bit more on that. Let me bring in Bonan Dagane into this particular discussion. And I want to find out from you the plan to remove Matatus from the Central Business District. Now, I want to let our viewers know this discussion is not about Nairobi, but of course I'm sure the largest number of Matatus are within Nairobi, and so we will expand this discussion to the other counties as well. But that plan, very popular declaration by Governor Mike Sonko. Its implementation, nevertheless, has been difficult. Where are we now with that plan? Is that still a priority for the county government?
Thank you so much, Wahiga. I think that is a very critical question. And the county government has already planned, as you know, there were terminals that were always constructed. You don't just expect one morning to wake up and tell all Matatus to get out of the CBD because you have to put all measures in place.
Okay.
And immediately we came in, as you remember, there were almost 9 terminals that were gazetted. I remember that was September last year. Mm-hmm. And when we came in, we fast-tracked the level to which these terminals are ready so that we will be able to communicate and also talk to the Matatu owners associations.
What is their status right now?
Currently, I'm talking about 6 of them have been completed.
Okay, in which locations, just for clarification?
These are Moranga Road, there is Park Road, there is another one in Ngara. There is also.
And on average, they can host how many Matatus? Just give me some rough figures.
Average, they can host almost 200. I mean, 500 to 600.
At
Matatus.
One go.
At one go.
Okay.
If that is really implemented.
Okay.
Because when we come in, I know there was a gazette notice that was there, but however, contractors which were supposed to construct the terminals were not paid their money. And what we did was we invited them and told them to continue the work, and then we will be able to clear all the pending bills. We have already done halfway to that, and of course, process their first certificates, and hopefully in the next 1 or 2 months, they will be able to finalize all the terminals and will be ready and will be able to sit with the Matatu owners associations and other circles and see how we can move the Matatus.
So will you sit with them or will you direct them? Because that sitting process can stretch on, and Kenyans want, or Nairobians want to see results from
yes,
the county government.
Always there should be a dialogue. We don't want to fight because they will be losing. This is about businesses of Kenyans. Mm-hmm. And the same also county government also gets revenues also from the county, these Matatus. And what we have to do is we have to sit together and agree again on our time that we have to move them. Okay. And that is something that in terms of the time. But we don't have to negotiate about whether they should move or not.
They have to move.
They have to move.
From June onwards, because
yes.
So you're saying we give you 1 to 2 months to finish the terminal.
Yes.
We are in March.
Yes.
April, May, June.
Sure.
We expect to see that happening.
Sure.
Let me bring in Dr. Duncan Kibogong, Deputy Director, Safety Strategies and County Coordination, NTSA. It's been a very busy start of the week for you.
Sure.
I know you recently launched a new program. Explain to us, or not launched, but rather implemented something that NTSA has said it will be doing. How will this plan be rolled out? We hear it's a 3-month exercise across all parts of the country.
Yes, thanks, Waiga. Now, concerning the question you've just asked, is that NTSA working with partners a while ago, just to take a bit back, is that realized that for a very long time, Kenya, we've never had a standardized curriculum on how drivers are supposed to be trained, because that is very important. So, so much so that you'll find different driving schools having different curricula, so to speak, or teaching material to train. So with that, there was a gap in terms of the drivers coming out of those particular driving schools. So much so that there's disjointedness in terms of how these things are going to be organized. So based on that, and together with the industry and many partners, we came up with a standardized curriculum. As you know, that up to 80%, more than actually 80% of causes of road traffic crash is not because of the road, neither is it because of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. It is because of the road user.
The driver.
And in this particular case, the driver, because is the one who is in charge of that particular vehicle, carrying passengers inside, and also supposed to a large extent take care of the environment around, including the road users out there, pedestrians and the rest. So how a driver behaves in the road is determined by his behavior, is also determined of the skills imparted on them and training which was put on them, and the attitude which goes all the same, up to including their status at that particular time. So that's why we are saying that as NTSA, we need to have this particular curriculum, and I have a copy here.
Okay.
This is the curriculum.
And
it's
it takes
quite
about
extensive.
3 days.
Yes. I'll talk about the refresher.
Okay.
So this curriculum us all the classes from training from the rides from the motorcycle all the way to the trucks, the 22 plus wheelers and even articulated vehicles. Very standardized in keeping with the best practice internationally, and ensures that it addresses both the theory and the practical aspect of it. We are now beginning to roll out this particular program. So to begin with is that we realize that majority of the crashes happened at night, or rather when the visibility is low. And that gave us, and that's why the focus is currently on long distance drivers of night travel.
11,000.
And this is a short, we are targeting about 11,000, and those are about 50 focus circles across the country. The refresher, these people, or rather these particular partners of ours, the drivers of these people they are targeting, aren't that they don't know how to drive, but to impart them some of the behavioral aspect, including customer care, how they need to behave, how they ensure to understand even the regulation, the PSV regulations, amongst others. So in the next 3 months, the expectation is that we're going to train those particular drivers. And it's going to be expanded subsequently to other classes of drivers and even to all Kenyans at particular point, because remember that most Kenyans underwent training without a standardized curriculum.
Allow me to interrupt you there. And let me use a very abstract example because it's the best that comes to mind.
Yes.
And I'll use politics as, you know, as the best case. We have seen PhD graduates come from America, Europe, wade into our political scene, and immediately it's almost as if they put their PhDs behind and behave like anyone else.
True.
Which shows that there's a behavioral or cultural problem that cannot be sorted by education. How sure are you that the issue we've talked about here, which is that in Kenya we seem to say that we have a behavioral or cultural problem, how sure are you that this book will sort that?
Indeed, yes. Some of these things takes a bit of time. To change behavior is not one day thing. It takes over a period of time. And it is something, that's why we are working with partners, including the industry, among as many others, to ensure that this is. So the training is just part and parcel of it. But we have other behavioral change communication and public education programs, which we are planning to roll it out on so many of these things you're seeing, on targeting different road users.
What's the incentive? What's the incentive for the driver? Why? I mean, if you're taking me away from driving, it means I won't make money for a couple of days.
Absolutely.
I don't want to read your what incentive do I have? What incentive is NTSA giving the drivers?
Of course, one of the things is that it's a regulatory component that you need to undergo. But more importantly, as we move forward, one of the ways is that once you have undergone that training, we're going to get the new smart driver license, which NTSA is introducing, which has more features, and it integrated in there are technologies which, as we move towards more of automated enforcement, then it becomes easier.
Panakimota, you can come in now. And I can ask you a question, even I know you wanted to respond to what he had to say. First of all, are you on board with the way NTSA is handling this training? First things first.
Well, I think I'm not very comfortable with it because it's not solving the problem that is existing.
What is the problem?
I think the first thing is licensing. We are licensing PSV operators on basis of the age of the license. If I have a 4-year-old license, I qualify to get a PSV license, irrespective of whether I've trained or been driving. This is just produced 4-year-old, you have a certificate of good conduct, that's it. This person, whom I don't know whether he can drive or can be able to carry passengers, is thrown to me as an investor in public transport. I cannot question the license because it's genuine, issued by NTSA. What does he do? He crashes. Then I take the blame.
That you're doing nothing.
That I'm doing nothing. I'm not a trainer, neither am I a license issuer. So we need to go beyond there. We need to set up.
Since they have a representative here, what would you prefer that they do?
I'm coming up with that.
Okay, go ahead.
NTSA doesn't have the capacity to handle that. We need an area of discipline. National Youth Service can be given this responsibility. They have the authority to issue the licenses, but the function should be removed and given to National Youth Service, where they will be able to test, to train and test you whether you're qualified, and even classify you. You see today, the driving schools that we do have, and the tests are done by the police, and you can imagine what happens. So when you issue out a license without knowing that this person is able to do that. You're issuing out it's a time bomb. You're issuing out a weapon. So there should be an institution set. They have a license.
With enough capacity.
With enough capacity. In National Youth Service, I have a background of being in the military. You are first, before you start anything, you mark time. You do parade. Those are discipline issues. You're taught how to even tell your, address your boss as sir. In the Matatu sector, we don't have that. I've never been addressed as sir at one moment, despite having employed so many
I'll
people.
give you a chance to respond, Dr.
What we need to do is to set up institutions that can be able to carry this mandate. Not a thing that is just to please the public, not a PR exercise. We need to have an institution that will train, classify you, and issue you with a license. We can be able to trace you back. Who trained you? Who licensed you? Then we'll be able to ask questions from there.
Okay, Again, I'm coming to you just now to respond. Let me get a quick response here.
Thanks for allowing me to respond. I think Mr. Kimutai probably hasn't checked on the curriculum and the regulation which goes with it.
Although he feels it's a PR exercise.
And what he's saying is exactly what the new curriculum is talking about. And as you implement way forward, the issues of a driver just getting to be licensed because of increase of your age or the fact that you move from 18 to 21, you get a stamp. That is something which is going, once you begin the implementation of this, it's quite clear that for a PSV driver, you cannot become a PSV driver unless you are 21 and you have to have passed, if you have to, so it's more of graduated type of learning. So much so that in the near future, we would see that a driver, say 20, you cannot touch probably a 6-seater unless you have undergone graduated.
Who monitors that graduated?
It is clear in the regulations, and it's clear in this particular curriculum. We check. Now the other thing which I need to confirm is that we are not the people. The driving schools, we regulate the driving schools. It is not us who are having driving schools to. So what we've come up is the basic minimum for a very long time, and I think this needs to come out very clearly in this to your listeners and viewers as well, is that driving schools in Kenya have not also been standardized in terms of what is a basic driving school and which driving school. So those are some of the things which we've come up with in terms of identifying driving school. As we speak now, there is also a process we are doing whereby we have begun the vetting of all driving schools in Kenya with the purpose of having the driving schools identified to what Mr. Kimutai is saying, which one.
So those driving schools will be able to pass along.
Yes, and then those ones who are not, those ones who are not going to fit, they'll have to go, because this is a profession. We need to professionalize driving. We need to professionalize instructorship of driving schools, and also we need to professionalize the whole aspect of driving schools.
Okay.
So that is something which is coming, and it is going. We have begun with this, what we are doing currently. We have a national team which is currently vetting driving schools, and in the next few months we should be able to have some driving schools not functional in terms of not operational because they do not meet the current requirements. So that is basically the direction you are going.
Okay.
And what Mr. Kimutai is saying actually is part of.
I'm curious to find out how you'll help driving schools deal with their profit motive, whether they'll be able to carry out this work effectively when at the end of the day the owner of the driving school is asking, am I going to make money or not? I'll come back to you for that. Ponadagane, come in. Your county is ideally the most affected by what we are talking about. And this discussion seems to have shifted from a hardware discussion to a software discussion. Is that something the county government is considering, maybe partnering with these two institutions to, in a sense, maybe train? Because at the end of the day, even if you block Matatus from accessing the CBD, Nairobi is not just the CBD. Nairobi is very expansive. And if the behavior of those who operate these Matatus is not changed either by who comes into the sector or by how they are regulated, then you'll decongest Nairobi, fair enough, the CBD, but out there, the stories we see on Jogoo Road, on Thika Road, let me not even get into Rongai Road. I was there on a Saturday, and what I saw, I couldn't believe it. So what's your strategy?
Thank you, Wahiga. Before I go there, I just want to give also my input on the same.
Okay,
go ahead. I think the issue of behavior is one of the biggest problem in Kenya, as we have earlier on mentioned. Because we may have the best laws in this country. Actually, we have the best laws. One of the most progressive constitutions that we have. So many other policies are also in place. This will be a step forward, which has been put NTSA. But however, the culture of corruption is the biggest predicament in this country. The issue of the culture of impunity by the drivers, the touts, and all these people within the Matatu industry. The issue of putting, because I'm sure most driving licenses are of course private, and they work towards, of course, issues of profit making. So how do we ensure that moving forward, that these driving schools do not just get money from people and just issue all the necessary regulations? And I think that's one of the issues.
Almost a mechanical process.
A mechanical process.
That doesn't touch.
Yes,
okay.
That will not.
Bwana Kimutai, I know you want to respond to what he had to say, but I feel that fine. So you've apportioned blame where you feel NTSA need to change strategy. As Matatu Owners Association, where do you need to change strategy? What can you do in this process? Go ahead.
First, let me come back to the issue of driver training. The emphasis here is that we really have to have, if you have to eat bread, you have got to wait for it at the end of the production line when it is completely baked. Then you can enjoy the bread. In this particular case, we need drivers who are really qualified. And it's only NTSA who can make it happen. The driving schools we do have, and CEC Transport Nairobi has said it very well. What haunts us is corrupt practices in this country. If we were operating a corrupt-free, actually I brought in the cashless issue, but it never saw the light of the day because we were trying to remove money from the vehicle so people can behave. Well, that is a subject for another day. So what happens here is that we have a very bad culture where now a traffic law enforcement officer and our workers are colluding. When they collude, what happens? Because they have money that doesn't belong to them. So they buy themselves off the hook when they commit offenses. So they don't see offense committing as anything that is that can take them anywhere, because they'll buy themselves free. So people must stand up to be counted as patriotic Kenyans, especially law enforcement officers. Deaths on our roads, mostly you would blame it on probably behavioral things, and we see them. Even the Salga thing, we saw that they were stopped, they gave out something, and somebody had reported that this vehicle was being driven badly. And because money changes hands, so what happens? Somebody gets off the hook. And what needs to happen here is we must play to score one goal. We don't need to be two teams fighting each other. We need to go the same way, do teamwork and and we'll score it very well. And I still insist that that issuance of PSV license should come off. We just don't need to tell driving schools that this is their curriculum. They'll still find, I mean, everybody there, the whole place is rotten. Driving schools will always want you to pay extra for the tester to be able to pass you. And then what will happen?
Or if you want to fast track, pay a little bit more and you can do this thing in a few days.
So what we need to do, we must have a test before issuing, because every license needs a test. That PSV license needs a proper institution that can test the person and classify the person, that this person can be able to drive a minibus or drive a small vehicle.
Fair enough. If they implement what you're proposing, he says that's what they're doing. If they implement what you're proposing, as Matatu owners, are you ready to weed out those who do not fit the requirements, in that you make it hard for them to continue to work with you? Let me give you a scenario. I imagine I have 2 or 3 Matatus. I have drivers and touts who may not behave as I would want, but at the end of the day, they bring me the money that I want. And then he comes in with new rules. New drivers come, but they're not delivering. Are Matatu owners ready to sacrifice profits, to see profits go down for sanity on the road?
It doesn't mean that when somebody misbehaves, is when you get money. You lose, because one thing is that you take your vehicle on pavements, you buy new tires. When you get the revenues, it goes. I mean, when anything happens, when there's a breakdown, it's costly. One thing is that if there were 2 million people to travel in Nairobi, by misbehaving, they'll not make them 3. All we just need to do is to have standards and a way of doing our work.
But you can't deny the logic that the first Matatu that gets to the stage picks the passenger first. I saw it this weekend, 5, 6 Matatus.
There are consequences for any kind of behavior.
So one balances with the other.
It one balances. By the end of the day,
Yeah.
you've heard of vehicles called teke. You can hardly have it for 2 years.
Okay.
It's a ramshackle.
I'll give you a chance to respond, Daktari. Let's get a quick link from Patrick Igunza. He's back at a different, I don't even know where he is. Let's take, Patrick, where are you, and is the situation any different there?
Thank you very much, Waiga. I promised to move from railway station, and I've now found myself in my here at Commercial. Again, quite a popular spot where passengers, especially from the eastern part of the city, are normally blocked and picked by Matatu operators. But it is quite a different picture here, Waiga. For instance, as you can see on the left-hand side, we do have Matatus that fly routes like Eastleigh routes all the way to California.
Apologize for that sound quality. We'll go back to Patrick Igunza as soon as we fix that. Daktari, you can now, I think you wanted to respond to something
yes,
Kimutai had to say.
I think on what you asked, and I think you said that whether the industry is able to sacrifice the profits for the sake of safety, I think I'll put it the other way around, that unsafe behaviors is expensive. It's quite expensive, and I think that has put quite clearly both on the investor and on the country and virtually everyone. As a matter of fact, you're talking about road traffic crashes in this country contributing to, or rather, the loss of GDP is about 5%. That runs way above 300 billion Kenya shillings. So the whole aspect of saying that people need to rush and in the long run they make more money is a fallacy, because in the long run you lose. So safe behaviors in the road and safe order and following law is always very profitable to everyone, because revving engines and rushing, braking, also even from a fuel point of view, is quite expensive. So safe behavior in the road is actually very profitable.
Okay.
So the whole aspect you talked about, that whether the industry, if I were the industry, I would play more safe and they make more profits and that. Just to add it up, that the issue, and I think you say that can Matatu sector be tamed, I think the question should be, can it self-regulate themselves?
You think that's the solution?
Yes. The point is, who is to tame who? I think that is now the point. But moving forward in this country, I think everyone needs to play responsibility. It cannot be the purpose of the government to overlook another person, or rather to just keep on policing another person. The ideal situation is to have the industry and to have everyone play their rightful role, so that we don't need to be running after one another. So much so that the industry and the management within the sector, and that's why we came up with the PSV regulations in conjunction with the industry, because every time we come with laws, of course we consult, whereby the management, we have very well functioning SACCOs and companies in this country, and they report very profit. In fact, some of them share that since when we moved from behaving like this to this, we've been able to make profits this much. We've been able to save this in terms of insurance. We've been able to save this in terms of ABCD. So that aspect of self-regulation does not actually need to be in law. But since now it's in law, they can actually even push further, because those are basic requirements. Other companies and SACCOs under Mr. Kimutai do quite well. So this is something which needs to be replicated and escalated countrywide.
Okay.
I think that's what I needed.
That's what you want to put across.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I like some of the points you've put across, and it makes sense that for owners, Matatus, well-driven, less maintenance costs for them, they have a better-looking Matatu at the end of the day if they want to sell, etc. But I'm putting myself in the mind of a driver or a tout. You do the Nairobi-Rongai route. You've done the math that on a good day I can do, I don't know, you probably know this better than me, 7, 8 rounds. On a bad day, I'll do 4. You're telling me that gentleman will, at the flick of a hat, at the flick of a finger, so to speak, or after reading this curriculum and understanding a bit of it, will decide that from today onwards, I'm going to follow the lanes, I'm going to follow other cars, I'm going to be orderly, knowing that other people are doing 7 rounds while they're doing 4. Gentlemen, are we being honest with ourselves? Yes, we're on TV and we're being diplomatic, but Kenyans know what's happening on their roads, that to the average Matatu driver, the more rounds, if I do 5 rounds, I can give, I'm told they even have other squads at the stages. I can do my 5 rounds, take lunch, someone quickly dashes to town, brings the Matatu back to me, and I carry on. And at the end of the day, I make that money. How are you going to change that? As the owner, as NTSA, as Nairobi County?
I think everything is possible. We can do everything. It's an issue of strategizing ourselves and agreeing. And one thing is that, as I had mentioned earlier, we need people who can come out to be counted, that they want to make this industry good for every person, for the investor especially. You know, today you invest and it's a loss-making industry as we talk.
It is a loss-making industry.
Yeah, what has happened also, I think I want to also apportion blame to the regulator. They are licensing each day. They don't see whether it's, you know, the business is demand-driven. And if it is demand-driven, why do you license them until it's completely saturated? This actually becomes a door to chaos, where people start competing for passengers instead of services. What has happened now is that there needs to be some kind of census to be done to see the population who travel using public transport vis-a-vis the number of vehicles that we do have, so that we can have now to see that we don't compete. The reason why the people are competing is because they're fighting for passengers. And this is because the business is saturated. But if there was uniformity, you know, because if there are 20 vehicles in a route, or 30 or 40 or 50 for this case, we should all go. If it is 5 rounds,
because everyone knows they would get the number of passengers at the stage.
So now the competition comes down. But since now NTSA keeps licensing every day, irrespective of whether there is demand or not,
yes,
they have not put in a research department. I don't know whether they are doing it now.
You sure
to
they've
be
not?
able,
Okay.
I mean, I've never seen anyone carrying out.
Okay.
Maybe it's just come because we've made complaints. So I think that would.
I need to give him 30 seconds to respond because we need to go to Patrick Igunza.
All right, a quick one. I think
he says you're registering Matatus every day.
That is not. We don't. We don't. Of course, registration. I think it meant that we give out routes every day. But that's not because we work in conjunction with. As a matter of fact, in Nairobi County, there's been a freeze on the number of, and the minister here can confirm in giving out of. So for us, NTSA, we don't give out any licenses in Nairobi as we speak as relates to the routes. But I agree on what he said, that we need to have a study to understand clearly where, because that is actually, and we've instituted that study to understand the demands, the transport demand for different areas, so that it informs licensing.
He's not gotten my argument. Here is licensing new vehicles coming in, not issuing new routes, but the vehicles coming in every day. The bodybuilders are building minibuses every day. They're more busy and they're licensing them. Yet they don't know, is there demand or not?
Hang on, I'll give you a chance to respond. I hope he's understood. Now, Patrick, I hope we can now hear you loud and clear. Yeah, tell us a little bit about where you are in at commercial within the CBD.
Thank you very much, Waiga. Yes, I promised to move from railways to a different location, and I'm at the commercial bus station. It's here that passengers from the eastern part of the city actually get to get dropped and also picked, so that they can go to their homes or come to the city. And it is slightly different from the railways bus terminus, because as you can see, these are Matatus to the eastern part of the country. They are literally surrounding one of the buildings here, and the ground floor is a business establishment for various business men and women. But as you can see, they've literally obscured all these business premises, because they are lining up even as they await to operate within the CBD. In the morning, you asked me whether it's solely a matter of Matatus, but here it's slightly different. On my right-hand side, we also do have other type of public service vehicles, and in this sense, I mean the taxis, and they are parked right on my right-hand side. Again, as you can see, they're taking quite a significant space within these streets in the city. It is quite chaotic. If you can try and establish the ratio of Matatus to personal vehicles, then you'll see there are more Matatus than personal or private vehicles. And then the question again arises, how best can we sanitize our public transport sector? Is it a matter of Matatus, Wahiga, being so many on the road such that managing them becomes a problem? Or is it mere disregard of the set rules and regulation? I would have wished to speak to some of the operators, but because today the spotlight is slightly on their negative aspect, not many of them are willing to speak to me. And so we'll have to do with just the images that you can see on all the direction from where I am standing, Wahiga.
Patrick, they say a picture is like 1,000 words, so I think our viewers understand your point by that picture alone, even if you don't get a chance to talk to some of the operators. As you're showing us some of those pictures, and we're also connecting you with Asha Bikidusa in Mombasa County, because we also want to get out of the city. Let me read 2 SMSs here. Tulwo 2018 says, the happenings in the transport sector is reflective of our society. Our laws are good and our systems better. The problem is us. The grid in our roads is consuming us. Let's implement laws just like Honorable Michuki did. Then that was a tweet. Let me read an SMS now from Thuo wa Galaxy Kahawa West. Taming Matatu sector does not require new laws. Okay, he seems to agree with this as a gentleman. It requires a system to put discipline in these drivers' heads, either through surgery. I don't know whether, Doctor, you've considered surgery, or something military, say a curriculum like the NYS one. Behavior modification is all that matters. Another person here, you don't give us your name, but you say police cannot live without the cash. They get to look the other way. So corruption. And we tried to get the police to join us, but we were not able to get a representative for this particular discussion. And another person says another issue is vehicle inspection. I don't know if we're able to talk to Asha. Not yet. I'll come to you when we get a chance to do so. I want to give each of you a minute each just to give us your thoughts on moving this forward, but I want to allow you to respond. He came out and counted what you had to say. He said you didn't quite get what he was saying, that as we speak right now, body modification is going on. A new Matatu is just about to be unleashed on the road. This is an ongoing process. Have you done the research?
Yes, I think we work within the law, and I think that is quite clear. And one of the things which we are trying to propose so that we cap the number of vehicles per circle, and that addresses the issues talking about, whereby you get a route and you say you have, say, 30 vehicles or 40 vehicles. Then subsequent thereafter, you saturate by just using the same license and increasing them to 100. So it addresses what he's talking about. But on the aspect about issuing RSL, as I said before, that's not. Then 2, on the aspect you'd asked, and this is something which you've noted and you've actually quite fantastic, is the whole aspect about ensuring that any licenses, including the number of vehicles per circle, is based on research to understand the flow and the traffic needs of the Kenyan population, and for example in Nairobi, understand where this. So that's some research which actually we've commissioned, and very soon you should be able to have a report identifying that from point A, or this particular route from point A to B requires this, and then addresses that.
How do you phase out old Matatus that have reached a particular age? How strict are you on enforcing your guidelines on the same?
The old Matatus?
Yes.
Yes. We are coming up with the regulation currently, and I think it's actually is whereby the vehicles, one of the things, of course, is that the older vehicles, we currently do not have a law which phases out older vehicles on the road. But how we're doing it is bringing the issue of the unroadworthiness of those particular vehicles.
Okay.
And definitely we can't get a license without ensuring that that vehicle is roadworthy.
Is roadworthy.
Yes.
Let me bring in Asha Bikidusa now from Mombasa County. Asha, good morning. We're having quite the discussion here in studio. Help us to understand what the situation is in Mombasa County. Do you see the images that we've been showing our viewers from Nairobi? Do we have the same challenges?
Oh, well, basically, Wahiga, now I'll be speaking to the Matatu Owners Association Coast Branch Chairman, Mr. Ali Batez. And he's also the National Vice Chairman, actually. He's informing me that he's the National Vice Chairman of Matatu Owners Association here in Kenya, who will be giving me maybe perhaps the picture of how the situation in Mombasa is, and whether the new regulations that have been put in, perhaps how will they curb, or how will they be used perhaps to better of that sector. Na pengine Bwana Batez, utueleze hizi sheria ambazo zipo na NTSA unaona kwamba zitasaidia katika kuboresha hii sekta ya matatu.
Nafikiri ni swali zuri na nafurahia sana na NTSA vile wanavyofanya, kwa sababu hata sisi Matatu Owners tumeweka seminars hapa Mombasa madereva mara kadhaa, na hata tukatoa certificate kwa njia ya sawa kabisa. Na tumefurahi sana jambo hili, na hili ndilo ambalo tunalolitaka. Lakini kuna kitu kimoja nataka NTSA wafahamu. Dereva kwa miaka mingi sio kuwa na utaalamu mkubwa. Hata watu wanasoma university wakamaliza, na wakitoka wakaharibu zaidi ya wale ambao hawakusoma. Kwa hivyo ni jambo zuri na liunga mkono. Na kuongezea, nafikiri tumeona juzi wamechukua madereva kama 200 bara. Na njia waliopitia sikujua wamepitia njia kutoka kwa Matatu Owners ama kutoka kwa sako ama kutoka wao binafsi. Ningelipenda waadili na viongozi ndio wanaweza kujua wale madereva ambao wakufaa kupewa semina na ambao hawafai kupewa semina. Wako ambao ni wataalamu hawana haja ya kwenda semina, lakini wale ambao hawajakomaa na miaka yao imefika, hawa ndio kupewa semina, na wale sisi ndio tunawajua.
Na haya mambo ya sako ambao yameweka zile sheria, ndapo matatu moja itavunja sheria basi sako nzima inachukuliwa kama wenye mmiliki wa matatu. Hili swala mnalichukuliaje? Manake kumekuwa na tetesi hasa kutoka hapa kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nafikiri hili tumelizungumza na si sawa. Sawa, driver na lisensi yake na ana haki ya kushtakiwa kupelekwa kotini, na mwenye gari ana makosa yake, kiwa gari yake ina makosa afaa kupelekwa kotini kwa makosa ya gari yake. Kwa hivyo hiyo mimi ningelipenda NTSA tukue sheria ya haki. Dereva akifanya makosa, serikali ilimpa leseni na inajua kwa amekamilika kupewa leseni. Anapofanya makosa anafaa kutoa adhabu dereva. Na ikiwa gari ni unroadworthy, ni mbaya, kwa hivyo anafaa kutoa adhabu mwenye gari. Si haki kufunga sako kwa mtu mmoja anayefanya makosa kama hayo yote ya gari. Mwenye gari hana makosa na sako haina makosa.
Shukran sana Bwana Batis. Wahiga, as you've heard there from the Vice Chairman Matatu Owners Association in Kenya, Mr. Ali Batez, they're saying that they are supporting some of those measures which have been put in place, but however they have questions concerning others, like the issue especially of the circle, where when one matatu or maybe one vehicle maybe has done something, it's the whole circle maybe which is taken into account. They're saying that maybe they're not pleased with that issue. And now back to you, Wahiga, in studio.
Thank you so much, Asha Bikidusa, for contributing to this particular discussion. Let me now get final comments from my guests. Kimutai, I'll start with you briefly, please.
Yeah, what I want to say is that we can't blame investors for buying very many vehicles in the city. Those planners never knew that the city would grow this much. And we only have one pick and drop position. Hakati is called Hakati bus station. We don't have any other. In Nairobi, we have close to 20,000 matatus. And when we have maybe about 4 each able to accommodate 500, it will only take care of 2,000. What happens to the rest of the 20? So I think for the city, we want to say we mean a lot of good, but we must all plan and move together towards the same direction. You find that we have a problem also in Kenya, that people report to work at 8, children go to school, at 8, businesses are opened, at 8, I think there should be a structure also of probably people can report at 9 and leave at 6, 10, leave at 7, that kind of thing, so that we can spread and help the city be able to come out of this gridlock of traffic. So I believe that all can be well if we all score in the same goal. And
are we on the right direction?
We should be. What should happen is that Mzee Batesi has put it very well, that we are hearing people are being trained. They are leaders in the industry. They've been disregarded, that they are not even informed that they, you know, we have very many drivers who are idlers, squads. They'll get trained because those ones are idle. They'll come and go for the training. What happens? The training will not be enforced because they are the wrong people. Leaders should talk with their members in SACCOs to provide the right drivers to come and be trained.
Okay.
So there must be that, we must communicate.
Okay.
When we have failure in communication, then
I trust communication is happening here today. We have stakeholders
on TV, but on the ground.
But on the ground. Okay, go ahead, Dagani.
I think, as I said, training is very important. However, what is also equally important is basically the issue of enforcement. Whenever someone breaks the law, then they should be able to be punished. And that punishment, between where they're going to be punished and where the punishment happens, that's where the issues, which is basically the issue of corruption. Even in terms of inspecting these matatus, whether they are roadworthy or not, that is also another issue. Kenyans take shortcut and all that. So everything is basically that we should be able to punish those people who break the law. Not only the matatus which are breaking down and all that, which is hurting, of course, the investors, but they're also hurting our roads because they keep on destroying the pavements and everything, the infrastructure we put. As you know, infrastructure is very expensive and maintaining and all that. So I think that is the way to go. But however, I would like to bring a dimension whereby unless there is a reliable public transport that exists, it is not going to be as easy as we think.
A standardized one?
Yes, a standardized one.
Okay.
And I think that is what the county government is trying to put in place. together with, of course, the national government through the Ministry of Transport.
Okay.
We are putting measures in terms of whereby how can we move, above that and provide a reliable public transport.
Do you
We're
think the
working with
Matatu Owners Association will be happy with your success?
They should be happy because I believe,
make more money.
yeah, because they will be making better money. Because for now, he says that
They'll
they
partner with you, or how will it work?
I believe now, for now, they can't even go the necessary, the number of trips as they want, because they have invested in the business. They can't move because of the confusion that exists and all that. But I believe that we will be able. We are talking about peak hours. We're working with Kenya Railways, trying to put commuter rails, and stations are being constructed in various parts of the Githurai, in Zimmerman.
Being constructed
Dandora.
as we speak.
Yes.
If I go there now, I'll see some.
Yes, constructions are underway. And we want to, as for now, you see the railway that comes from Siocamau and comes through the railways and goes towards Jogo Road and all that. It's only in the evening. You see how crowded they are, those.
Yes.
So during the day, there's not much demand. So this particular peak hours period, then we will be able to provide the public to go, through the public transport.
Okay, Dr. Kibagong, I can
All
give you a
right,
chance to make
I think I'll be quite quick, but one thing, of course, when we are working towards improving the road transport and sector and the road safety which goes with it, it's important to have everyone on board. And I think we've already begun having that kind of discussion whereby we have everyone on board, all the stakeholders, because this is everyone's responsibility. As NTSA and as government and many other partners, we play our rightful role, but it's equally important for the sector themselves to play a rightful role. And we are beginning to go in that particular direction.
What are you expecting from the sector? For example, these two gentlemen, what are you hoping to hear from them?
Like, for example, the issues about the mass transport, which Banadagania talked about here, the CC in charge of transport in Nairobi, is something which we're already working on it, and we need to move further together with, because in the long run, the investment will be done by the private sector, or in most cases, or at least so. So in that case, then it means that we'll have to collaborate to ensure that the mass transport and BRT and all that which goes with it is quite important. There's enough business in this city, and indeed in Kenya, as relates to transport. What we just need to have it is more organized, and that is the whole thing we're talking about, having stakeholders. And more importantly, of course, we'll play a rightful role in terms of regulating and other government agencies in provision of infrastructure. But more importantly, we need to ensure that infrastructure, of course, is maintained, including the stages and all that. So this is whereby we need to have coordinated approach, and we actually do have a team called Count Transport and Safe Committee. And Nairobi is one of the areas which we focus most, because it has some of the biggest transport challenges and some of the biggest road safety challenges as well, to see how we improve all those things for the sake of safety, for the sake of increased profitability, reliability, and affordability across board.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's how we wrap up this discussion. But one SMS has come in. We haven't even talked about this, but I feel I need to read this. You don't give us your name, but to say, I was in a Matatu from Gong, and when we got to Lenana, I don't know whether it's the driver or the tout told me to put my window down, awashe moto. I did not believe my eyes when he lit up some weed, and he was telling me, hii kazi ya matatu huwezi fanya kama uko sober. And there I started getting worried. Okay, let's take a break. You're watching Citizen Extra. Stay with us. We hope that there's a better understanding of how the sector works and the challenges affecting it. But we certainly hope for solutions, that next year, at a time like this, we won't come here again to discuss what we discussed here today. You're watching Citizen Extra. We'll be right back.